in the way you define success, if you want to live big in the sense of the life that is full, a life that has all the elements that you want to have in your life taken care of, then you need to work on yourself.
Hi, I'm James Taylor, business creativity and innovation keynote speaker, and this is The Creative Life, a show dedicated to you, the creative. If you're looking for motivation, inspiration, and advice while at home, at work, or on your daily commute, then this show is for you. Each episode brings you a successful creative, whether that's an author, musician, entrepreneur, performer, designer, or thought leader. They'll share with you their journey, their successes, their failures, their creative process, and much, much more. You'll find show notes for this episode as well as free training on creativity over at jamestaylor.me. Enjoy this episode. Hey there, it's James Taylor, and I'm delighted today to have on the show Ajit Nawalkha. Ajit is an entrepreneur, business coach, founder of Evercoach, author of the Book of Coaching, and is a co-founder of Mindvalley Teach. Having found his way from a middle-class family in India to top stages of personal development and business growth conferences, he learned it is possible to create the abundant reality we want. Today, he is getting ready to share the strategies that helped him build numerous multi-million-dollar businesses in his upcoming book, Live Big. It's my great pleasure to have Ajit on the show today, so welcome.
Thank you, James. I'm excited to be here.
So share with everyone what's going on in your world just now.
Oh, well, just came back. I'm about to be a father, so excited about that. I just come back from Thailand. We had an event there, and before that, we were traveling for about six weeks just traveling around. And then we were in Mindvalley, then we came back, just recently coming back from our baby shower because I'm about to be a father. So excited about that, and that's what's happening in life. And then 2 months after that, my new book is coming out, Live Big, so that's exciting too.
Fantastic. And I know you mentioned that you've just come back from Estonia in Tallinn. You do something really kind of interesting. I think it was another friend of mine I was talking to the other day was saying, oh, you've got to check out what Ajit does, because it's like a moving festival of ideas and of knowledge. So describe what this is, what you do in terms of taking this more experiential form of learning around the world.
So I wouldn't say that I do it. It is a mix of many business partners that puts together different ideas. And so you see it as one coherent thought, which is Mindvalley. But it's different partners doing different things at different points. So I focus mostly on Mindvalley Teach, which is basically our vertical of working with educators, transformative leaders, coaches, speakers, and so forth, and helping them to be able to build a methodology or build a product that actually works and be able to work with them in really elevating their own game and also help them build their businesses. So our experiences of the products that we work on are cross platforms. So first of all, we have, of course, mindvalley.com, where we focus on personal development, personal growth, personal excellence, if you may, which is, we call it as the School of Humanity, where we are suggesting ideas that one may want to pursue to create a better reality for themselves and for the world at large. Then there is Evercoach.com, which focuses on business and methodology building for experts and coaches. And that mostly focuses on saying, hey, how can you empower people to be able to learn on how to live a great life, right? So it's almost like we have the platform for people to directly learn from the teachers, and then we have the platform for teachers to be able to learn how to become better at what they do, like how do they train better, how do they teach better, and so forth, right? So those are the two big platforms that you may have seen online at all times. Then we have several events that we do through the course of the year, which is more for people who want to go dive deeper and really learn more and not limit themselves to just the idea of online learning. Because yes, you can learn online, you can read books, but after that, you often want to kind of really build a community, right? Really find people that share those values, they share those ideas with you, and you could learn from them on a constant basis. So that's kind of where we bring in the events, which are more designed around experiences that we have around the world. We have 2A Fests, which is basically about 400 to 500 people that come together. These are usually entrepreneurs or people who are at the top of their game. They want to come together for 4 or 5 days and go deep dive into a learning experience but also have the experience of life. Then there is Mindvalley U, which is recently what concluded in Tallinn, which is basically a moving university kind of in a way. We bring about 1,000 people to 2,000 people to a different city every year where people can come in and learn together and stay together and grow together and find friendships and community and so forth. Then there is Mindvalley Reunion, which is about 800 to 1,000 people. That is basically a reunion of all customers of people who want to learn or who have taken a course with Mindvalley. Then there's Evercoach Summit, which is the same, which is about 100 to 200 coaches, educators, and trainers that come together in the US still, where they get to learn or kind of come reunite. These are people who have taken programs as teachers and educators to come together and really kind of share that experience together with each other. So there are many events, so that's why it feels like one coherent thing, and it feels like there's always something happening, which is, it is true. There's always something happening, but I'm no way solely responsible for it. There are many different partners that come together to be able to create this.
Now, that the word that kind of goes through all of these things is that word teach. And so you had a pretty kind of profound experience when you were younger with a teacher that kind of really helped you. I mean, we look at this now, you're seeing this person in front of me at the moment, achieved all these amazing things in his incredible life, but there was a conversation that happened with a teacher pretty early on in your life that really helped set the direction of where you are finally today. So can you tell us about that?
So I grew up in a household of about 23 people. So I grew up with a fairly lack of abundance, you can say, not only in context of space, but money, in context of just being able to live a full life in many ways. I have wonderful parents, but it's just that we're not really abundant. And so the way I was getting conditioned early on in my life was, well, if you can if you can meet your needs and if you can take care of yourself, that's good. That's like you're doing great in that context. If you can take care of your kids and so forth. And so as I was growing up, there was a lot of doubt, if I may, of what is possible for me or what I can create for myself. Like any traditional Indian household, I was expected to be an engineer. Like it's usually in India, you want to be an engineer or a doctor or an accountant. So for me, it was the engineer route that I was taking until there was a teacher. And it wasn't that I was excited to be an engineer, and there's nothing wrong with being an engineer. The only thing was that I wasn't excited about it. I was doing it for the reason of saying, hey, that's what everybody does. Right? There was no thought to it really. So as I was on that journey in my high school, there was one teacher in particular who one time when I was reading the news in the morning, this was just one of the extracurricular activities I used to do, she came up to me and said, you know, if you choose to be, you could be a news. Happened like one or two more times where she suggested that I could be somebody else that I had ever imagined myself to be.
You could be a news anchor. So this would be like for the child that was kind of going along engineering path, kind of that was the plan. That was a pretty left field kind of. So that teacher must have really seen something in you.
Exactly. So I think what was bigger for me that was the idea of saying I could be something else than what I was training to be at that point. Right. And that was the big deal for me. That was the one that was like a breakthrough for me, because I was like, oh, hold on. Where is that even coming from? Is that even possible? That kind of changed my direction in many ways. And I grew curious about what is possible. And like I said, I have very supportive parents generally. So they firstly resisted, but eventually agreed to the idea of saying, all right, fine, do what you got to do. And at that time, I didn't know that I would become a coach or an educator of any sort. I just wanted to try something different, something that was more exciting. And so I started my journey of discovering what is available out in the world. It got me introduced to a student organization that would give me a ton of leadership opportunity, that trained me early on to be able to look at life in a very different way, to be able to lead really smart people at a really young age, which led me eventually to a company that I co-founded with one of the bigger media houses in India, which didn't really work, but it taught me entrepreneurship. It taught me that learning is key element to growing. And that's what led me to Mindvalley, because one thing that I realized after bombing a startup was that I didn't know enough. And what I needed to do was to learn, not in the college and school sense, but real world learning. So that got me introduced to Mindvalley. I started at Mindvalley as an intern about 10 years ago. And that got me introduced to the idea of, oh, education, that's what is missing. That's what I got wrong. That's what everybody gets wrong. That's what everybody gets stuck with. That's what everybody gets comfortable with, is that they get the idea of education is mostly tied to schools, and nobody is really excited to go to schools. Very few people are. Or they are excited to go to schools and then they realize it's just a dumbed down process, not really an elevation process. It's not a process where you discover yourself. It's more about you trying to cram more memory than actually learning. And so that got me to introduced to the idea of education in a very different light, which brought me to doing what I do today. So I've been in this education space for almost 10 years now. It's almost been a decade where I've supported Mindvalley. But me personally, I've only started doing this for about 2 years.
And in what you do with Mindvalley, there's definitely a sense it's kind of different. You use that word education, but where you see a lot of education providers of various different stripes is it's very much this is just business education or this is just personal development. But you have I would say, is quite a holistic view of that, looking at the whole person in terms of like getting to achieve. So as you were because you're seeing all these people, you're coaching all these people, you're going to all these events, all these kind of people. How did that feed into this new book? What did you see from having all these conversations and helping all these people that you felt, okay, I need to put this stuff down in words and kind of put this out into, well, there's something more that I can share? So
as I was discovering and going through my own journey, I realized that when I was leading Mindvalley, so I ran the company for a year and a half or so, and then during that process, I realized that the one thing that I was really good at was to really figure out the strategy part of things. But when that was happening, I was also missing the element of just me being able to live up to who I really wanted to be able to live a full life, to be able to live passionately, to be able to live purposefully. I was doing work that was purposeful. I was doing work that was passionate, but what about everything else in life? That also made me discover that the day I sorted myself, the day I was in good state, business became easy. And then I started testing this with other people, and I started to realize most brilliant entrepreneurs are brilliant people. And by brilliant, I don't mean intellectually brilliant. I mean they are smart individuals who take care of themselves, right? And they become the icons that you look up to most of the time. The ones that are not in a balanced state are sometimes wealthy, but they're not people who you would aspire to be once you meet them. You might aspire to be like them when you see their 30-second clip on Facebook or a minute clip on Facebook. But if you look at their 24 hours of their life, you wouldn't be inspired. And so I said, okay, what is it that as an entrepreneur that you really need? What is it that you need to really think about? Or what is it that you really like? What differentiates a good entrepreneur to a great entrepreneur? What differentiates a happy and successful and fulfilled entrepreneur to an entrepreneur that just has a lot of money and that's pretty much it? And that's where they stop. They don't have great conversations. They don't inspire change. They're not creating great products. They just know how to make a lot of money. And that's pretty much it. And so their lives are miserable. They don't really have great relationships. They don't really have their health in order. They're just basically living a life that is extremely wealthy, but not really successful. I wouldn't call it successful. Neither would they if they really gave it a deep look and didn't come from a place of ego, right? So having realized that, I said, okay, there has to be more to this than just saying, okay, how do we make more money? So that's why I needed to write something that was not a strategy book. So Live Book is not a strategy book. It will not tell you the 5 ways to grow a business. It will not give you the exact formula to say, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur in the way you define success, if you want to live big in the sense of the life that is full, a life that has all the elements that you want to have in your life taken care of, then you need to work on yourself. And if you can follow these 25 principles that we talk about in this book, there are 25 chapters, there are 25 principles, 25 insights, if I may, which the intention of the book was that if I could in any way add perspective, give insight to an entrepreneur, any entrepreneur is smart enough to fill the gap.
Yeah.
I don't have to give you a strategy. If I can give you an insight, if I can give you a perspective, that's all you need. You're really smart. You'll figure out the strategy. Strategy is easy, right? What's hard is insight. What's hard is perspective at the right time in the right way. So Live Big was written from a context of saying, if today you wake up and you don't feel inspired, you should be able to flip over to a page and Live Big and you will feel inspired. And it's not a motivational speech. It will happen because of perspective. It'll happen because of insight. It'll happen because that's what you need to hear that day, because that's how the book's written. The book's written for you to just hear the right thing at the right time so you can have a fantastic day and a fantastic business and you can continue to live big.
When you started writing the book, was that the idea at the start to write a book like a more principles? I was just reading Ray Dalio's book about principles, and it's it's much higher level, and he basically assumes that the reader is smart, like you were saying. Say you'll figure out all this tactics change all the time, strategy change all the time, but there's key principles that we have to there. But so much you see in today's culture where the 5 things to do, blah de blah. I'm guessing like the publishing world kind of pushing you to write those types of books. So did you kind of go in writing this book with this idea, I'm going to create these insights, these principles, or did you start from a completely different place?
No, I started from a place of saying I want to not write a strategy book. I didn't want to write it. I wanted to write an insights book. I wanted a book that you would keep by your desk side and have it as a good friend that you can refer to at any time. I wanted a book that you don't have to read cover to cover. You read it when you need it. I wanted it to be a guidebook. I wanted it to be a reference. I wanted it to be a buddy. I wanted it to be just a coach, right? Someone who can say the right thing so you can look at your business, your life in a slightly different way, a slightly evolved way, so that you can question the right way and not beat yourself up and not be in a state of anxiety. I feel there's way too many entrepreneurs who live in a state of anxiety, hurting themselves more than helping the world, right? Yes, we want you to create great products. Yes, we want you to be able to elevate humanity, but we also want you to have a great time doing it all, right? But entrepreneurs seem to be anxious at these times, especially because of constant comparison with some other entrepreneur or some other business, with the flow of information and the flow of amount of knowledge that you have in today's time. You open your Instagram feed and Facebook feed and you're constantly challenged because you feel like the other entrepreneurs got it all and you haven't, and you kind of beat yourself up with that, and it causes anxiety and fear and not enoughness, and that's not fair. That's not fair to the entrepreneur who's already doing so much to be able to create what they are creating. It's a constant. Entrepreneurship is hard. It's not easy. So I wanted to give entrepreneurs like myself and like yourself friends. That book is a friend of yours. It's just going to say the thing that you need to hear at that time, and then it'll let you be. It'll let you be in your place and say, hey, I now will figure out what my next step needs to be. I now will figure out what my next step is going to be.
And one of the things I've heard you speak about in the past is you've moved. I don't know whether this is age or just learning, or you're at a point in your life, you've got a baby and coming, and you've moved from, I think you've said you've moved from a goal-based life to a value-based life. That is kind of that's your kind of compass now. Can you describe what that really means and how that's affected the quality of your life?
So this happened a few years ago. So this is not a recent thing that I moved from goals to values-based, and there's a reason for it. You would see, and I'm sure you've observed this in your life, and I observed this when first I met the only goal that I used to have in life, which was to buy a house for my family. That was my one goal that I thought if I could achieve when I was 50, I will be happy, or 60, I will be happy. I bought that house at 28. So that was like 6 years ago. Right. So when I hit that goal, I entered a stage where I became goalless for a little while. And I didn't know what goal to set for myself because nothing sounded purposeful in a way. And then I also realized one more thing, and I'm sure you will resonate with this, right? Have you ever realized that you set a goal, you hit it, and then you don't even acknowledge it for long enough, and then you move on to the next goal?
Yeah.
Right? And that's everybody, right? Everybody, all of us do that. We don't celebrate it. We are not grateful for it enough which means that the point of goals is somewhere fundamentally flawed, right? There is a purpose to goals. It gives us direction. It gives us a beacon to walk towards, right? We want to impact 1 billion lives. That's our mission statement. That gives us a beacon. It tells us which direction to go towards, right? It gives you that. And that's the only purpose of a goal, really, because goals change, because we change as human beings. So there is no people get an A or C class and to keep full rate doing just the first thing, right? That day to something that doesn't even mean to you because you said it there because you see the beacon and that's what it was, right? So I said there's got to be another way of life. And so that's where me and my now wife and that time my coach kind of explored and we found that if instead of the goal to build life, it just isn't the goal, if we identify what would an ideal day look like and create that, we would always be in a state of fulfillment and joy and creation, right? So what is your ideal day? Whatever that ideal day was, right? This is the live on an everyday basis, you will feel a lot more stressful. I'm not. You will not. You will have all going through in life. That will be. What happens is you have a constant state of you live a constant living, constant state of joy living because I'm living exactly how I felt was most purposeful to me, was more aligned to me, right? And that becomes easy when you just know values you want to live. So for example, when I wake up every day, I have two really fundamental values that I live with. It's serve and love, right? So I want my day to expand into as much love, and by that doesn't mean romantic love, it means love for life, love for humanity, love for other humans, love friends, love in context colleagues and teams and so forth. I just love for humanity, everything, right? So I constantly ask myself, am I waking up, am I living my life full of love, right? And if I am, then I'm perfectly happy, I'm perfectly joyous. And if I'm not, I need to check in and I need to go, hey, what's happening? Why is it that I'm not operating from? Is this love? Is this the place we're operating from? Is this love? If not, then I need to check it and I need to correct that. And that will bring me back into my state of service and love. And the second is service. Service is because I love the fact that I could write a book and hope for it to be the desktop for entrepreneurs to become a reference for them to go back to whenever they need perspective, whenever they need insight, right? That's me being of service, of creating companies like Evercoach and Mindvalley and writing books like the Book of Coaching and so on and so forth. Doing a podcast like this is allowing me to say, hey, can I be of service? Can I share some insight that might help you today, right? And that gives me tremendous amount of joy. So I know that these two words kind of summarize how I would love my life to unfold as every day. This is not my tombstone statement. This is my today statement, right? So today, if I live in a place of love and service, I'm perfectly happy, joyous, grateful human being, and that's how I like to live. Instead of chasing this arbitrary goal. Again, I'm not saying you don't have a goal. I still have a goal, but that goal is more a beacon. It doesn't. My happiness is not reliant on that. That's just a place where, hey, it's a beacon of light, so I have a direction to walk towards. Else I would be fragmented. I would be going everywhere. But what is my today is full of service and full of love.
I love the idea of living kind of by your values, as opposed to living by your goals. That kind of constant chasing of like, okay, the next one, then not taking time to even appreciate kind of what you've had as well. I wonder, you've written a book which is very principle led. And I guess one of the benefits of writing a book like that is you don't have to kind of necessarily update every year because some technology that you've mentioned or some tool or some app. But I guess one of the things I always love doing with guests on this thing is just asking, is there a tool or an app or or something you just find is very useful for the work that you do. And the benefit of this is because it's a podcast, we can kind of do this, but what's quite nice about the way that you've written the book is you're not going to have to get caught up and having to change that over the years. So is there a particular app or tool that you find really useful?
There's so many. I mean, so for example, like the reason why I say there's so many is because my life, to be able to live from a place of love and service, I need to be able to design my life in a way where it unfolds the way I want it to unfold. And it's not to control life. It's more to say, hey, if I want to create space for love, like if I need space for my friendships, I couldn't be working 12 hours every day, right? Because then how will I create space for love? How will I create space for creation that can express love, right? So a lot of my life is highly optimized. So my tools are always updated, like you said, which is why I say today I might tell you a tool and tomorrow I might have different tools to do the same thing because there's a better tool that came out. For example, Slack's a great one for team organization and team communication. We use Slack a lot. I have some custom tools that I've built for myself for me to get into state. For example, I have a tool. It's a Chrome plugin that loads up my values every time I open a new tab with a picture that signifies that value. But that's a custom tool that I commissioned and I got developed just for me and my wife. Then I absolutely love the iPhone. I don't know. I mean, this is a very big tool that I'm talking about, but it really does the job for especially a new entrepreneur. And it comes to also video and pictures and so forth. The iPhone X is brilliant and really, really useful. What else? I mean, there's so many tools. I mean, if you talk about a particular area of focus, I can probably give you like Evernote. Clipper is great for your web browser. It allows you to take notes really effectively. And Evernote generally as a note taking is brilliant. And Dropbox is where everything on my computer is saved. So I'm very optimized. So you'll have to like be a directed question. I can tell you a tool for that probably. If you go, okay, Ajit, how do I do this better? I'll probably be able to tell you a tool.
And one of the things I find fascinating is because I like every week I interview very creative people, and as I find that as they get older and more experienced in what they do, their tool set actually reduces. They work with less tools at the start because everyone, there's that bright shiny thing, and I think marketers and entrepreneurs, we can have a little bit of a penchant for that. But as they get more and more experience, they actually seem to reduce their toolkit. There's a few things that they know that they absolutely need, but they don't get kind of hung up on it. So probably I'd be interested if we do this interview in 10 years time, if we're both still around, if that toolkit has changed, if there's less things.
But the thing is, if I was to, like, I just to interject, I don't think the tool set decreases. Experience creates clarity, and clarity gives you focus, and which is why you don't try new tools until you really need to solve a problem. It's the same case. I have many tools, but those tools are highly vetted. I don't go around looking for a new tool every day. It's more to say, hey, now I'm looking for a solution. I'm not looking for what's the new fancy tool that's out there. I'm always looking for, hey, here's a problem. Here's an area I need to optimize. How can I optimize it? And is there a tool to optimize that? So that's how, with experience, you start to pick tools, is that you are only trying to solve the problems that you have or the focus area that you are in. And I think with experience, people get highly focused. So you can, because then you are not trying to go, okay, what will work? You know exactly what you want to work on. I think it's the clarity that creates that intensity in your life. And because of that intensity, you go, okay, I only need 5 items and that's all I need, because that's the process that I have and I don't need 5 other processes.
And what about a book? If you to recommend one book to our viewers, our listeners, we're obviously going to have a link to your new book as well. But if there was one book by another author, what would that book be?
Depending on what you want to learn or what's the area of focus. There are so many brilliant books that are out there. It would be unfair to put one.
I would send you to a desert island, let's say, and I'm only going to give you one book to read. What would that book be?
It'll be my iPad with a lot of books in there. It won't be one book. Books are just so fascinating. There's so much to learn. Like The Code of the Extraordinary Mind by my business partner is amazing. Sapiens that came out recently is Homo Deus, for that matter, is amazing. 0 to 1 is amazing. Principles is amazing that you talked about. I'm just recently reading a book called 4 Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin, which is brilliant. It's great work that she has done in that one. So, I mean, if you want to write, I mean, there's so many books.
So I want you to imagine that tomorrow morning you wake up and no one knows you. You know no one. You're going to have to restart, rebuild your life, rebuild your businesses. You have your family around you, but you know no one knows you. What would you do? How would you restart things?
If I was to restart a business, I would look for a great product. That would be my first starting point, is that I would look for a product in a space that I'm excited about in that moment when I'm just waking up with nothing to hold on to, if it's an education-based product or a physical product, an e-commerce product or whatever that is. And I would try to find a product that I'm absolutely in love with or I appreciate a lot, and then see if I could strike a partnership with them or create a better version of that product, either of those. And that would be my first two steps, and then build marketing around a really good product.
And if people want to reach out to you, to connect with you, where's the best place for them to go? And also if they want to, I know probably when the book comes out, may have to kind of pre-order at this stage, but how can they best pre-order a copy of the new book?
So you can pre-order the book at livebigthebook.com, 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 and it'll redirect you to the pre-order page. And to connect with me, the best way is to reach out to me through email, or you can Instagram me, or you can Facebook message me, or whatever that is. Just look up my name, Ajit, Ajit Nawalkha, Nawalkha. I'm the only one in the world, I think, that will show up with that search. So search it, you'll find all the different ways to connect with me: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, email, all of them are fine.
Well, Ajit, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. I'm really looking forward to this book coming out and you helping and you teaching many people in the future. Maybe if we do this show in 20, 30 years time, there'll be a young woman, young man I'm going to be interviewing who you're the person that's opened their mind up and opened up their mind to abundance. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing the story of your creative life.
Thank you very much. You have a fantastic day. Thank you for inviting me.
If you're interested in living a more creative life, then I'd love to invite you to join me as I share some of the most successful strategies and techniques that high-performing creatives use. I put them all together in a free downloadable ebook that you can get by going to jamestaylor.me. That's jamestaylor.me to get your free downloadable ebook on creativity.